Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're reviewing Batman Begins. What a comeback for the Batman. I have a Dark Knight poster there. I should be getting a Batman Begins poster sometime. Where are my Terminator posters? So, overall, not much to say, but I'm kind of doing a little bit of a Dark Knight trilogy because I feel like I watched The Dark Knight about a month ago, watched Batman Begins about a couple weeks ago. And then that sort of got me in the mood to review these movies. And then this new Batman movie coming in within like 3 weeks, so I'm gonna go see that on opening weekend. That'll be fun. And then I'll eventually do a DCU franchise review. That's gonna be a little while until then. And then sometime later, I might do a Batman movies ranked. Although I am not a huge fan of the ones from the older before the 21st century. Like I enjoy the original one from 1989. It's a little cheesy, but I think it's kind of a fun film. And then you have Batman Returns, which is just okay. I never saw the Joel Schumacher ones because I heard they're both bad. And overall, I've just never had the interest in really watching them. So that's not going to probably get out of me for a while. If I ever decide to watch them again, I'm going to definitely review them right after. And I think eventually I'm going to want to rank all the Batman movies. But for now, this is what you're getting. I'll do the Dark Knight trilogy. I'll review Matt Reeves' Batman, possibly, and then we're probably going to do the DCU, but not for a little while. So without further ado, let's get into it. Off of what this movie's about, this movie is Bruce Wayne sort of in this prison, and then he goes out to go train because back in a while his parents died. He killed that guy that killed his parents much later in life. So then he transforms into this Dark Knight to try to save his city due to these League of Shadows, League of Assassins type people, which are, I don't know what the word would be, but still. Overall, and then you have him going into Gotham City as a trained assassin / knight, if you want to put it like that. And then he has to stop all the crime in Gotham City, essentially. Now you have the good, and starting off the good, overall, the origin story's handled really nicely. I've always loved the origin story part of the movie. I haven't rewatched this one quite as much as I rewatched The Dark Knight, because I don't like this one quite as much, spoiler alert for my ranking, but still. I love all the plot lines when he's on the little ice, battling with Ra's al Ghul / I don't know if we knew that he was Ra's al Ghul. I'm not sure. And then you have him doing other stuff. Yeah, so all of that really works for me. The little sequence where they're fighting between all the people, I think that one's pretty fun. And then the way it ends with Bruce Wayne dealing with the test to try to, because they want him to execute someone, and then he doesn't. I think that was a great scene. And then I do think the second half, once we get out of that origin story, I don't think it's quite as good, because the problem is the action's all kind of chopped to pieces, because I think it's supposed to be Nolan's way of sort of putting us in the criminal's perspective rather than the Batman's perspective. So it's all chopped to pieces and it's hard to see a lot of it. But I think the story and the characters are what really make this movie. I think Jim Gordon's great right from the beginning. I don't love the version of Rachel. I think everyone's complained about her. I don't know what the actor's name is. I think actress's name is, Kate Holmes or Katie Holmes or something. I don't really have any problem with her, because I think the actor or actress that plays her in the Dark Knight is, I think, quite a bit better. Anyway, I think the villains here are all great. Both Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow are both great, especially Ra's al Ghul. And even Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow is fantastic. Overall, all of those elements together makes for a pretty great movie. I think the way it ends is pretty nice overall. I do think the little plot line about the whole water, I'll talk about that later. So overall, I think all the characters that work. I think Michael Caine does a great job as Alfred. And overall, most of the action sequences are decent, but I think what makes this movie great is the origin story of becoming, and Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. I think Christian Bale does a great job right off the bat, especially in this movie and in The Dark Knight. And this is the only one of the Dark Knight trilogies that feels like a Batman movie. Like, Dark Knight is sort of a Joker movie with Batman in it, and The Dark Knight Rises is definitely a Bane movie. It's definitely not. and then with Batman in it. But I think overall what Christopher Nolan does really well with this trilogy as a whole, sort of, I wouldn't really call them superhero movies. They're crime thrillers with comic book characters. That's really what they are. They're not really superhero movies. And this goes with this one, well, the origin story is very superhero-like, but still. This goes with The Dark Knight, especially, and The Dark Knight Rises as well. I think pretty unique way to do comic book movies, and I think this is definitely my favorite movie from 2005, where the comic book genre is starting to, the DC was starting to die off a bit after the not-so-good reception of Batman, Batman and Robin. Then this one comes out and blows people's minds. I mean, that's what Nolan's designed to do. He made Inception, for Christ's sake. So overall, all of the elements put together makes for a pretty great movie for the most part. It is not without flaws, because I do have some issues. Although one thing I do find weird is that I feel like Dark Knight gets so much praise, and then one of my friends who loves The Dark Knight has still not seen this movie. I'm like, and then he wanted to watch it with me. I watched it like a couple weeks ago. So. Now you have the mixed, and the main thing as a whole, I do find that the second half is not quite as good, because it kind of loses some of its steam as you get in there. The action's not quite as good, the story's not quite as good. I feel like the problem is, the story gets very odd near the end, because he already defeated the Falcone crime syndicate, and then once you get to the end, you have they bring in Ra's al Ghul, which I do think makes sense in the light of the movie, but I feel like they should have done the whole Ra's al Ghul thing a little bit earlier in the movie. They should have brought him back, and then they end up in a duel where I don't know. They should have done something a little bit different, although probably would have stretched out the movie back quite a bit. But still, I don't hate the story and the storytelling, because I still love the characters, so, I think both, Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul work as villains quite nicely. So, that's kind of my main. I think the story and the pacing is also a little weird, because it starts up quite slow and then moves quite fast near the end. The bad, and as I said, the main thing I still am not a fan of with this one is just the action. It's just chopped to pieces. I think this one does have my favorite Batman suit, probably, of all of them, and I think that's pretty cool. But I think the action is all chopped to pieces. I think the Falcone character is a little odd, it's a little odd. I think some of the plot elements are really odd, but I kind of like how the beginning starts telling the story non-linear. Very odd for a comic book movie, but it kind of works. It kind of works because it's Nolan doing this, so that's something you'd expect Nolan to do. He does. Memento, sort of The Prestige, and overall, all of those elements sort of really work for me. And so, I just don't think the action near the end is all that good. I do think the Ra's al Ghul action's pretty good, and the final battle I think is pretty satisfying once it ends. But overall, I do have my issues with the action and I don't think the suit's quite as good here as it is in The Dark Knight. I don't know. So for this movie's final score, I'll give it a 9.3 out of 10. I still really like this movie. I've sort of picked on it quite a bit, but I still really like it, and I think the origin story is great. I think the Batman character is great. Christian Bale's great in the role as Bruce Wayne. I think the villains are great, both Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow. Because I feel like everyone talks about Ra's al Ghul, or most likely the Joker from The Dark Knight. And no one really talks about, I think, Scarecrow quite as much, because I think Liam Neeson outshines Cillian Murphy here. So, there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share what you think about the Batman Begins. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Have you not even seen it? Or are you a fan of it? Are you a fan of The Dark Knight and you haven't even seen it? Go watch it. There you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios. Go check out my shorts channel.